Hi guys, I'm second to last tonight, don't worry, it's nearly over. My name is Patrick, I'm part of the co-founding team of Replex. And now before we get into the product, I wanted to show you a bit how big this market actually is. Did you know that 30% of all the active servers in the US alone run without any purpose? Now to put that into some real life numbers, that's actually 4 nuclear power stations that get wasted in terms of energy every year. If we look at that in the cloud, 54.7 billion gets wasted every year on unnecessary cloud spendings. That's actually 50% of the complete computing power in the cloud that could be saved with adequate tools, such as Replex, of course. Why did we have this problem? And some of you might know, and also, we're not too many. Feel free, if you have a question, to shout it out. As some of you may know, traditional infrastructure looks something like this. You had physical infrastructure with some kind of virtualization layer on top. Now, that was already pretty hard to manage at scale, so looking at an enterprise. But modern infrastructure looks like this. We're building all these different types of infrastructure on top of each other. And I see some laughter over here, I like it. And some of the more, modern-facing enterprises are starting to look at cloud, they're starting to look at containers, and the complexity in the IT infrastructure space is increasing incredibly. Now, I want to play a game of Tetris with you, just to make sure that you all understand what we do. Replex is a little bit like playing Tetris without looking. All these black spaces that you see are free resources. And this might be in your physical data centers, this might be in the cloud, whatever you've got. You're playing Tetris without looking. Now, what Replex does is it wins the game for you. How do we do that? 2 things. Firstly, an automated inventory, and that's kind of figuring out where is everything, who's using it, what are we paying for it, and how efficient are those resources actually being used. Now, it's always that big data problem where you're a central information tool and you pull in all this myriad of data, but what do you do with it? And that's where the optimization algorithms come in, and we have proprietary machine learning algorithms that then generate optimization strategies. So it's not automated, it just tells you how to do it for the simple reason that anybody who's ever managed infrastructure doesn't want anything moving around automatically unless he wants it to be an automated system in the first place, in which case we can integrate our information into any kind of automation engine. People always ask me, okay, so what? And there's 2 types of stakeholders that we see with our tool. And that's obviously business in first place. What do you get out of a central information, or I like to call it the central source of truth for everything IT infrastructure. And the first thing is real-time insights, right? Being able to figure out what's happening today on my IT infrastructure, not in techie language, but in words that I can understand, in actual figures, in numbers, in efficiency reports, how efficient are my teams actually working. The second is actionable data, and that kind of intertwines in the point that you have to be able to understand the data to use it in first place. And that's why we make sure that all the data or all the reports that we output after an inventorization are always understandable for different stakeholders. And then accurate efficiency report, of course you want everything to be accurate. And that's kind of a big point, because if you're an enterprise and you've got different teams doing different things, you've got 3 data centers across the world, you're playing with cloud, you've maybe got an innovation hub, just relying on the reports that you get from your teams, some point doesn't get good enough. DevOps, and this is kind of where it gets into the techie situation, and it's really that you have one central system for all your insights. So you can go into it and say, right, how efficient is my application, or is my infrastructure actually running, and how can I make it better? Again, data has to be actionable, and the infrastructure optimization, of course. You, or any DevOps, always should aim to run his infrastructure as optimized as possible. How do we do that technically? And just to kind of give you a quick overview, we are a completely open API-based system, and we connect to all the infrastructure layers that we saw before directly. So that could be anything from physical infrastructure to VMs to any cloud provider today. And then also some of the more modern stacks like containers, for example, orchestrators like Kubernetes, Mesosphere, and the container engines like Docker, of course, itself as well. What we also do is then connect to APM tools, DCIM tools, things that a DevOps might run on his system. The reason why we do that is so that we can expand our view into the infrastructure. So we need to know what's happening on the infrastructure to be able to optimize it in first place. And that's how we get into that data. We're not a monitoring tool. That's always important to mention. We're not a monitoring tool. we're more of a management tool. So that means the actual active monitoring of applications, for example, needs to be done by other tools, which most enterprises already have, like 10,000 of usually. The cool thing about an open API system is that Replex doesn't only take information in, but it can give that information back out. And that means in a highly automated system, especially if we're talking about things like container, Replex can actually tell automated systems, over here, there's free space. Go and deploy a container or whatever over there. Business model is very simple. It's deployable as SaaS or on-premise, and it's on a monthly subscription fee. Now, our teams had, excluding me on the far right of that picture, has had 13 years of experience in IT infrastructure. They ran in a hosting business themselves, achieving several millions in revenue with enterprise clients. Myself, I come from the application world. I was at Dynatrace before, if anybody knows that. We're currently, that's actually outdated already. We're 20 now. We have offices in San Francisco, Berlin, and Leipzig. Where are we today? We closed a 1.5 million seed round in Germany. In March, we relocated our headquarters, that's also old, we relocated our headquarters to San Francisco. We have paying customers in Europe. We've got extensive POCs running in the US today, and we're planning our Series A for Q3 2018. And with that, I'm done.
And with that, he's done. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Replex. Well done.